and welcome. I'm Shibani Gharat and welcome to our special coverage of Goa Fest 2025, South Asia's premium advertising and media festival. The festival featured masterclasses, panel discussions led by industry leaders, providing attendees with actionable strategies and transformative ideas to redefine the industry's landscape. First up, I caught up with HUL's Tejas Apte on stage. Now, Tejas Apte is the head of media and digital marketing at Hindustan Unilever, and he issued a clear warning about the growing inefficiencies and risk within the digital advertising ecosystem. He cited industry estimates indicating that as much as 30% of digital ad impressions may be fraudulent or bot-driven. Far from being a technical anomaly, he emphasized this is a core business concern. To address these issues, in fact, Apte pointed to Indian Society of Advertisers or ISA's recent initiative, the Media Charter, which outlines clear principles to guide the industry. Now, developed in partnership with major platforms like Google and Meta and agencies such as Group M, Dentsu, IPG and Madison, the charter was not imposed unilaterally but co-created to ensure alignment amongst advertisers, publishers and agencies. Listen in to this chat to find out more. Today we are discussing the blueprint to make digital media transparent, secure, viewable and consumer first. How do you do that with bots, broken metrics, data misuse? And first, let me ask you, how much are they impacting the business?
So, there are different reports out there which will tell you the extent of loss in terms of media investments. So, if you pick a report, I think it was one of the audit agencies which published it about 2 years ago. But the numbers could be as high as 25 to 30% in terms of you're being told that you're getting 1,000 impressions, but almost 30% of it is being served to non-humans, which is essentially bots who can't buy your products. So as much as 30% can be wasted. This is an average, by the way. If you look at some of the newer things like influencer marketing, there are enough and more instances where people buy followers, which necessarily don't impact my business at all. And that number could be as high as 75 to 80%. So depending on where you are or what kind of digital marketing discipline you choose, the number could be from an average of 25, 30% to 70, 80%.
And to address some of these challenges, ISA has launched the Media Charter. So what are some of the issues addressed over there? Transparency is, of course, one of them. So, what has changed on the transparency front as well? So, because it has been a buzzword for many years now.
Of course. So, I think a couple of things have come together. One, just for maybe the benefit of audiences, ISA is Indian Society of Advertisers. Just like this is being organized by the Advertising Agencies Association of India, which is for the media and creative agencies. ISA does work for advertisers or marketers in the country. There's been some very good work which has happened over the last many years with ISA. So the TV measurement system, which is called BARC, is co-owned by AAAs of ISA and the broadcasters, of course. So as an industry body, it's incumbent on us to look at what are the trends and what is it that we can do to make advertising more effective for all our constituents. So I think the starting point was digital becoming almost half of our ADEX, if not more now. And then waking up to the reality that maybe large organized advertisers who have the benefit of referring to their global markets or global peers and looking at best practice, maybe some of the local regional advertisers may not have that benefit. So it actually started from there, saying digital is very large. Not everybody is well versed with the shortcomings of it as a medium. And hence, what is it that we can do as ISA to plug the gap? So I think we figured about 3 or 4 specific things which we wanted to call out, which are large. I'm not saying these are the only issues that need to be fixed. There might be more. But at a very base level, what we called out was that first, it has to be safe, both for consumers and for brands, which means your ad has to appear next to content which is deemed safe. That's very important. The second part was it has to be viewable, which means, it can't be a fake impression on a scroll below which consumers are not even going to. Otherwise, as I said before, it impacts your effectiveness. So the brand safety is big for us. Viewability is big for us. Fraud is a big, big problem. Many years ago, when I first did a digital campaign, might be 2008 or 9, I was still in the agency world. I learned of a term called, I think they used to call it ad buffering or something. So you'd basically put 2 or 3 tags of 2 or 3 different ads on the same impression. And because tracking was very poor, you would basically call out as 3 ads to the same consumer. So fraud in various kinds is a big, big problem. And I think the fourth one, specific to digital, of course, is then ethical use of first-party data. A lot of us, all of us keep getting pesky calls from various people trying to sell different things. It's just one of the cases of how data can easily be made available to people. And phone numbers is, relatively difficult to triangulate with something else if it's in the offline world. But online world, your profile can be built if, if you're being tracked, then it's quite easy to know a lot of things about the consumer. And if people are not aware, if consumers are not aware what data is being collected, and if advertisers don't have the confidence that the databases that they are tapping into have actually been collected with consent of consumers and hence are safe to use, it will create a problem in the long term. So the fourth bucket that we then called out was how do we make first-party data, which is consumer data, how do we collect it ethically, and what are some of the best practices around that. There's another pillar which is on cross-media measurement, but that we still haven't been able to address. But as TV and digital coexist and maybe get into a tug-of-war with each other, I hope we can do something about it.
Okay. Also, give us an understanding on how will this ISA Media Charter help the platforms share more granular and verifiable data with both the agencies and the advertisers.
So the playbooks which are now out in the public domain have actually been co-created with the likes of Google, Meta, Double Verify, mFilter It, whichever is the right partner for that playbook. Basically, we've got the whole ecosystem together. I think what it does is, one, it calls out standards of what advertisers should look at, or what advertisers expect data to be shared in terms of metrics. And because it's co-created, the publishers get a very good understanding of what advertisers are expecting. When digital again was, say, maybe 10 years ago, people would look at click-through rates. And, I'm not saying it's a bad metric. It's just that it's an input metric. If someone clicks on an ad, goes to some place, but he or she is still not buying the product or is not convinced that my product is good, then I don't know what to do with that click. I think we also need to make people aware that there's a set of metrics which are input metrics, which platforms can share with you. And then there's a set of metrics which advertisers and marketers should look at, which is basically business metrics for them. So I think because all of this was co-created, we would like to believe that publishers are more aware of what advertisers are looking for, and advertisers have a better sense of what someone means when it's an input metric that's shared with them.
At Goa Fest, I'm catching up with Tata Motors' Shubhranshu Singh. Welcome to CNBC-TV18.
Hi Shivani, great to see you again.
And you've hosted panels over here, Shubhranshu,
That's
taking
right.
away our jobs. Even at GPS, you were a panelist and a moderator.
Because you came in only yesterday, I was just trying to do my bit. But yes, we had a fantastic panel. I think it was very creatively crafted. It was about the movement from platforms to partnerships for the media agency world at large. So it was a very interesting discussion.
Yeah, and with the industry at Goa right now, what are some of the sentiments that you're picking up at Goa Fest? With so much of uncertainty, the geopolitical uncertainty, the market fluctuations and everything, how is it impacting the business? Also, the whole transition into the new reality of digital shaping and evolving so rapidly.
I think there are 4 or 5 big boundary conditions that are emerging, and I think people are excited about the possibilities but also apprehensive. One is creativity a force multiplier? I think that's the discussion that's happening. And what will be the end outcomes if digitalization, artificial intelligence, etc., are they tools, are they levers, or are they competitors? I think that's something that people are reconciling in their mind. The second big discussion area has been Gen Z. And in India, the demographic dividend is such that 40 crore Indians are less than 20 years of age.
Yeah.
And 65 crore Indians are less than 32 years.
So it's a young population.
It's a young population. the youth vibe is a very different vibe. The youth inspirations are very different.
The decisions that they take are much different as compared to like the older population.
Exactly, and then all their all their interactions are intermediated via algorithms are on lit screens. So it's a very different world from the brand world of say 20 years ago. So that's the second big ticket. And I think the third and the big discussion I see is how much of it is data and attribution, how much of it is emotion and the human values that get encoded in those stories. Those were the large pieces that I was able to pick up. But then being in Goa, even though we are rained out, is always a matter of joy. So I think people are just happy being here.
Yeah, and as a marketer, you're always so insightful. So, what are some of the things that you are doing as a marketer? Are you playing on the front foot? Are you being cautious? What are you doing as a marketer?
I've always believed that in marketing, being direct, being forceful, offense is the best defense. But
is it working now?
I think so. And in the last 3 to 4 years, what we have managed to do is to skew a great deal into digital. That's the mainstream, and across the world that is a clear and evident trend. So for us, 1/3 of our business in terms of lead generations and performance media is with, let's say, the Meta universe, another third with the Google, YouTube of the world, and then 1/3 is with the host of affiliates who are in the business of bottom funnel and lower funnel interactions with consumers. But we are also seconding that with huge amounts of work on influencers. Today, anybody who carries a phone is a walking, talking production house, curator, creator, influencer. And look at what people like Alex Earl and others are doing across the world. So we are working with nano influencers, micro influencers, but also regional and national influencers to try and supplement our messaging. And then last but not the least, we are making tremendous amounts of effort and investments in creating the right CDP, making sure we are targeting right, servicing right. We are reaching out with Salesforce, Marketing Cloud and the dashboard Datorama. We are trying to build viable use cases because the proof of the pudding is in the eating. So this is so far as the digital piece is concerned, and we are doing more story doing and storytelling. And it's about elevating the stature. So campaigns like Desh Ke Trucks, Success Ka Mantra, we are trying to say, look, you're not buying a truck or a commercial vehicle. You're buying inspiration for life. You're moving business on wheels. You're contributing to the national economy. And of course, we have the great trust and affection of every Indian in being from the house of Tata. So we are blessed in that sense.
And what, according to you, is the risk that the agency folks should take in today's times with so much of, uncertainty around us?
Shivani, that's a very, very important question because agency and client in this world need to move closer, not farther apart.
Farther away,
Because the models that are going to emerge are either going to be teams embedded in, or some of them are attempting purely in-house content and creative teams, or you have an arm's length distance where you work only on structured briefs. I think it will hybridize to a great deal. You need to feel more together. You need to have more skin in the game. You need to have an understanding and appreciation of the common context. But most of all, bold experimentation. Don't be scared. I mean, what's the worst that can happen?
Now, before we dive deeper into the highlights of Goa Fest 2025, let's take a short break. Stay tuned in as we bring you more insights and exclusive interviews from the festival floor. Welcome back. Held at the iconic Taj in Goa, this year's edition of Goa Fest brought together industry leaders, creatives and innovators for 3 days of inspiration and collaboration. The festival featured masterclasses and panel discussions led by industry leaders, providing the guests and those who attended with good strategies and transformative ideas to redefine this industry's entire landscape. Now, these sessions were crafted to equip professionals with real-world insights into the evolving advertising and media environment. I caught up with a few such industry leaders and celebrity speakers on ground. What is your long-term vision for the team?
Look, try and keep it very simple. First of all, there is short-term vision, there is long-term vision, and the short-term vision and the long-term vision is exactly the same. Try and win every game you represent your country, as simple as it can get. I don't complicate things. I don't believe in complicating things. Try and keep it simple because ultimately, anyway, it's a high-pressure job.
Since you mentioned yourself, it's a high-pressure job. How do you deal with the pressure of it? What is your mantra?
See, first of all, you got to accept that there's got to be a lot of pressure. As simple as it can get. A lot of people do not even accept that there's a lot of pressure. There will always be a lot of pressure because there will be a lot of expectations as well. So make sure that you try and do the right things day in, day out, and try and keep the team ideology first, team first ideology, and try and make the right decisions. What is important for the team as compared to what are important for individuals. I think more often than not, you'll get the results.
How are you building the next line of leadership within the team?
Look, that you will get to know because it's just happened. So we've got the England tour, which is going to be an important tour, which is going to be a tough tour as well. So a lot of young players will get an opportunity, and hopefully they're going to flourish. And we, as I just mentioned it to you, that we got to give them time to flourish rather than just criticizing or judging them day in, day out, which is not going to help Indian cricket. So make sure that when the transition is happening, people should not even get to know that the transition is happening, and that's the best transition.
And with these young players, what is the dressing room culture that you want to build as a leader, as a coach?
So be it with the young team, be it with the experienced guys, the dressing room culture is only one. It's always the team first ideology. What is important for the team needs to be done as compared to what is important for individual, because in a team sport, yes, individuals do play an important role, but not as big a role as what the entire dressing room and what a team needs to do collectively.
And as a coach, as a leader, what is the risk that you are willing to take and why with the team?
Look, I'm willing to take all the risk, and if you don't take the risk, you won't get the rewards, and that's the reason why I said that never be scared of making a mistake. If you're making a mistake, think you're with the right intent, that is still acceptable. But if you make a mistake with wrong intent, that is absolutely not acceptable. So there are times when you make a decision, decisions do go in your favor, sometimes decisions don't go in your favor, but if the intent is right, more often than not, it do work in your favor. Most of the time people are not able to make a decision because they're so scared of making a mistake. I've never been scared of making a mistake.
And finally, before we go, what is your way of nurturing the next generation of talent into the team? Like so many younger players that we spotted also during the IPL. So how are you getting them
let them
ready?
be themselves rather than enforcing or putting anything on them. Let them just try and be free, and it will be okay to make mistakes, because the first and foremost job of a coach is when a young player is there, first of all, give him that environment where he can be himself, and second, if he makes some mistakes, it's okay to make a mistake. Because two things which are absolutely not acceptable is, first, obviously we need to give the right environment, and second, putting pressure on them by not making a mistake. The more we put pressure on them on not making a mistake, the more they'll make mistakes.
Is this something that you also followed in your cricketing career and you were encouraged by your coaches and your mentors?
I wish I was encouraged by my coaches that it was okay to make mistakes, but you learn from your mistakes, and more importantly, if I wasn't encouraged, doesn't mean that I don't encourage the next generation. It's okay to make a mistake because you learn from your experiences, and I've always believed in one thing: the more you put pressure on someone by not making a mistake, the more he makes mistakes. And in a sport, it is always, sometimes you take the right decisions, you take the wrong decisions, sometimes you get frustrated, but it's okay. I think human beings are bound to make mistakes.
Joining us at Goa Fest is one of the most impactful storytellers that advertising industry has known, Ram Madhvani. Welcome to CNBC-TV18.
Thank you so much.
Ram, tell us, now you're telling stories through VR.
Yes.
So, all of these mediums have evolved from advertising to cinema, now to VR, and
Right.
that too Bhagavad Gita.
Yes.
Why did you think of doing something like this?
There are two stories that we have. There's the Ramayana and there's the Mahabharata. And what better story to try and evolve in today's time than to use modern technology for traditional stories. So
Yeah.
this was basically, plus the Bhagavad Gita has surrounded me and in the bookshelves, plus I've used it in Arya.
Yeah.
And I've realized that when you speak philosophically to this nation, there's a reverberation.
Yeah, in today's time and age where attention spans have reduced,
Right.
how do you create impactful stories, Ram?
Well, it's quite amazing because even if you're watching a 30-second ad, there'll be 3 messages that you'll get going ping, ping, ping. But yeah, I think the 5-seconder is happening. The 6-seconder is happening.
Yeah.
The vertical is happening. I think the time has now come for vertical televisions.
Vertical television.
Yeah, that's what I want to now see.
Yeah. And as a storyteller, as a visual storyteller, are you prepared for this transformation?
I want
this
to be at the
transition?
leading front of it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to die and find that I was not part of the change,
Yeah.
or I didn't create it.
Is it at all possible to tell impactful stories today without reducing the duration to a 6 seconds or a 5 seconds?
So I think in this attention economy like sort of deficit that we are having. Yes, it is. And I think that the only problem is, as long as you don't watch it like in advertising, I think we're yet okay because of the 10, 20, 30 second. In the series and in the feature film world, it's now becoming more and more, you're almost being briefed that, listen, this is second screen viewing.
Yeah.
That means you're doing something and you're watching something.
Yeah.
And I think we also need to be aware about that you're going to have to now have 2, 3 things that people are doing. And they've now, in fact, called it laundry TV.
Yeah.
Which is that while you're doing your laundry is when you're watching it. So
Yeah.
I think in advertising, thankfully, because of our very duration itself, I think we are okay. The good thing about VR is that currently, at least, you're not disturbed. So I think it is captive viewing. So I think that's one of the reasons that I do want to embrace it, because it was like what the theatre used to be,
Yeah.
where you went in and you were not disturbed.
As a filmmaker, how do you approach these different formats when it comes to storytelling? You know, from 30 seconds to cinema, to
Right.
OTT platforms,
Right.
to now VR.
You know,
What is your approach?
My approach is actually coming from advertising. I have to say, this is where I belong. This is where I do my riyas. This is where I started. I owe advertising everything, genuinely. The people, my wife, I also met in advertising. She's my co-producer, Amita. And there are 4 things that I learned in the telling of stories in advertising. Okay, one was who you're speaking to, which is your target audience. The other is what are you saying. The third was basically how you're saying it. But the most important thing that I learned was what's the feeling that you're meant to leave behind. And I'm applying these 4 principles, whether I'm doing VR or whether I'm doing series, whether I'm doing movies. These are the 4.
Great thought. Thank you so much, Ram. Thanks for joining
Thank
us
you so
today.
much.
आप दोनों के लिए OTT platforms have been game changers, but how are they shape shifting? किस तरह से shape shift कर रहे हैं ये पूरी industry को आपके हिसाब से?
The pressure of box office numbers and the whole jargon of numbers and how a film is successful or not basis on the number of the money it earned, that conversation is not there, which is very refreshing. And because again the focus comes back to stories, and
Yeah.
the people who are watching on streaming, they are not talking about the number of hours the show is watched. They're talking about what they liked as a character, what they enjoyed in the story, how are they looking forward to this character's arc, how have they, why one character is their favorite and the other, they're fighting with each other. So the conversations have come back to actually talking about stories and actors and characters, which is very, very important, essential, and it is part of reform, because you know, you can never judge a movie based on numbers. You can judge it for the weekend or maybe the month, but 10 years down the line, nobody remembers a film for the numbers it did.
Jaideep?
मेकर्स के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से ले लो या फिर एक्टर्स के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से ले लो, इट इज़ अ वेरी वेरी वास्ट कैनवस, जिसमें आपको जो एक सिनेमा की जितनी लेंथ है उसमें शायद आपको उतने शेड्स नहीं करने को मिल सकती है, उतनी लेंथ नहीं करने को मिल सकती है, लेकिन
Films and series both. Series particularly on the streaming has more to do.
Because of the platform, because of the time you can give, and but I love both the things. I miss cinema definitely, because जैसे वो है ना कि you can't judge a film on how much money that made, because sometimes the best of the films, they were always fail in terms of box office, and I don't like that fact.
बट सिनेमा फिल्म्स में, थिएटर में आप अगर जाते हो तो आपको ऑडियंस का एक कंप्लीट अटेंशन भी मिल जाता है, जो आजकल काफी फ्लीटिंग, काफी गायब होता जा रहा है, कि हम लोग 4 स्क्रीन्स लेकर बैठते हैं, आईपैड होता है हाथों में.
Community viewing is something that is so amazing about
That's actually the cinema beauty.
That's the
you
beauty
go
of
into
cinema.
a theater and watch something
amazing,
and everybody is mesmerized by it at the same time.
And it's larger than life.
Yeah.
Even if it's a realistic film, it's larger than life because you're watching it on a 70 mm screen in a dark room, and you can hear a collective sigh, collective laughter, collective shock or whatever. It's just become a very communal experience, which I particularly enjoy. But in terms of immersiveness, I feel like, because I am an avid watcher, even before the streaming, I was an avid watcher of watching something on DVD all alone, and in VHS all alone, and on a laptop all alone, or whatever, mobile all alone. And I feel like I'm more participating in it. The sound is directly coming in my ears, and I'm just with the movie. So I feel like सबके लिए सब कुछ है. We are living in a beautiful time. जहाँ पर हर तरह के experience के लिए stories हैं.
Now, as we wrap up our coverage, it's clear that Goa Fest 2025 has once again set a new benchmark for creativity, collaboration and innovation in the advertising industry. We look forward to seeing how these insights and connections will shape the future of advertising and media. With that, it's a wrap. Goodbye.